Okay, let's talk about something every producer has gone through. You've made a track. In your studio, it sounds absolutely massive, just incredible. But then you hear it in a club, and it just falls apart. It's a classic problem, right? Today, we're going to dive into that invisible architecture, the stuff that separates a pretty good mix from a track that truly, physically moves a dance floor. I mean, this is the question, isn't it? It's that gut-wrenching moment when all your hard work, all those late nights, just seem to get swallowed up in this big, messy sea of bass and reverb. The truth? Mixing for your headphones and mixing for a gigantic, room-shaking PA system, they're basically two completely different sports, and we're about to break down the playbook. So, to even begin to solve this, we've got to understand the fundamental difference between these two worlds. And spoiler alert, it's not just about turning the volume up, it's about purpose. Look at this. It's a huge shift in what you're trying to achieve. A studio mix is all about beautiful details, perfect balance, maybe for someone listening closely on headphones. But a club mix, that's a tool. It's a piece of equipment designed for a performance. Its job isn't just to be heard, it has to be felt. It needs to have a real physical impact that can grab an entire room and drive its energy. So the big question is, how do we build that impact? It can feel overwhelmingly complex with a million little tricks and plugins, but the real secret? It's about focusing your attention. We can actually boil down the whole philosophy of a killer club mix into just two foundational pillars of power. That's it, just two. If you can get your head around these two core ideas, you'll totally transform your tracks from just sounding good in the studio to being absolutely undeniable on the dance floor. And here they are. First up, we have the engine. This is your whole world of kick and bass. Then we have the groove. This is everything else. All the percussion, the atmosphere, the stuff that gives a track its hypnotic, driving feel. Let's start with the heart of it all, the engine. Let's be real. In techno, the low end isn't just a part of the track. It is the track. It's the concrete foundation that every other sound is built on top of. And if this part is wrong, well, nothing else you do is going to matter. I absolutely love this analogy. Your track's engine has to be incredibly powerful, right? It needs enough horsepower to physically move hundreds of people. But, and this is key, it can't be a runaway train. It has to be tight, disciplined, and super efficient, delivering all that power exactly where and when it's needed, with zero wasted energy. So how do we actually tame that engine? Well, here are 4 mission-critical techniques. First, sidechain compression. It's just non-negotiable. It makes your bass line get out of the way for a split second so the kick can punch through with maximum force. Then you gotta EQ carve out a specific home for your kick, usually around 50 to 60 hertz. Next, high-pass filters are your absolute best friend. Seriously, use them on everything that's not your kick or bass to clean up mud you didn't even know was there. And finally, you have to check your mix in mono. It's like putting your low end under a microscope. It instantly shows you where things are fighting. And these are the classic mistakes that happen when that engine isn't under control. Just cramming too many sounds into the low end is the #1 reason for a muddy mix, period. If you ignore how it sounds in mono, parts of your track might literally vanish on a club system. And all that uncontrolled sub-bass rumble, it's just a thief. It eats up your headroom and makes the whole track feel weak and flimsy. Okay, so our engine is running perfectly. It's clean, it's powerful. Now we can start building the body of the car on top of it, the groove. This is all about everything else that makes people move, every clap, hat, and synth that isn't the kick and bass. This is just a fantastic way to think about it. Imagine a dance floor that's so crowded people are just bumping into each other. It's not fun, it's just chaos, right? It's the exact same thing in your mix. Every single hi-hat, every clap, every little synth stab, it needs its own little bit of space to breathe, so it can do its job and add to the rhythm without just creating clutter. And here is the absolute key, maybe the most important takeaway for this whole section. A powerful groove doesn't come from adding more and more layers. It comes from careful selection. It's about choosing fewer, really high-quality sounds and then processing them to make each one hit with incredible impact. It is quality over quantity, every single time. And this is where the real magic happens. You create that hypnotic 3-dimensional feeling through contrast. You keep your core elements, like that kick drum, super tight, super dry, and locked right in the center. Then you take your atmospheric sounds, your pads and effects, and you push them way out to the sides, drenching them in reverb and delay. It's this constant push and pull between the tight center and the wide, spacious sides that creates depth and literally pulls the listener into the world of your track. All right, so you've built your engine, you've sculpted your groove, the mix is done, right? Nope, not even close. A mix is never, ever truly finished until it's passed the real-world test, far away from your comfy, perfect-sounding studio. This is your final exam, and it has 3 parts. First, the car stereo test. Your car is brutally honest, and it will tell you immediately if your bass is a mess. Then you've got earbuds. This check tells you if your mix still makes sense on a tiny, everyday consumer device. And of course, the club. That's the final boss. Hearing your track on a massive PA system right after a professional, mastered record, that's the fastest education you will ever get in mixing. So, as we start to wrap this up, I really want to leave you with a different way of thinking. Try to stop seeing mixing as just a technical checklist you have to get through. Instead, think of it as preparing your track for a live performance. This is really the bottom line. When your track gets played, it's entering an arena. It's competing for attention against hours of other amazing music. It doesn't have the luxury of just being good. It has to have an undeniable physical and emotional effect on every single person in that room. It has to perform. And that's really what a club-ready mix is. It's a reliable tool that a DJ can pick up and use with confidence to command a dance floor. It's not just an audio file on a USB stick. It's an asset. It's a piece of engineering designed for maximum impact and built to create an experience people will remember. So the next time you sit down to mix your track, don't just ask yourself, does it sound good? Ask yourself, what is this going to do? Ask, what is this track going to say when it finally gets its chance to perform on the big stage?